What's up, everybody? Hello and welcome to Not Your Average Meta, an MTG Commander channel dedicated to bringing you decks and commanders you wouldn't normally find in your average meta. This week's video is brought to you by our new channel sponsor, International MTG. If you're looking for competitive pricing on your favorite MTG cards old and new, be sure to check out the International MTG store and TCG Player, link in the description of this video. This week on Not Your Average Meta, we're bringing you our final game of Season 3, which features the return of Gavin to the channel. We'd also like to shout out our second full-time channel sponsor for Season 3, The Hobby Horse. If you're ever in the Central Illinois area, be sure to stop in and check out the store as well as saying hi to Martin. This week's matchup features Ryan making a rare appearance on the channel playing Maraxus of Keld, Martin going back to his bread and butter playing Blue-White Flyers being led by Harbin, Vanguard Aviator, Foggerl playing his own Blue-White deck featuring Ayesha Tanaka, Armorer, and Gavin making his grand return playing 5-color good stuff with Kenrith, the Return King. Now that we're fighters, let's step into the Thunderdome and see which deck will come out on top. Turn 1, Gavin plays a Swamp, while Ryan plays a Mountain, and Martin plays a Plains before paying 1 for a Survivor of Corliss. Fog also plays a Plains and then pays 1 for Basilica Skullbomb. Gavin draws and then plays an Ancient Tomb before passing. Ryan draws and plays an Evolving Wilds before cracking it to go get another Mountain while he passes his turn. Martin plays an Island for turn and then goes to combat swinging Survivor Gavin for 1 life. He then pays 2 and casts his commander Harbin, Vanguard Aviator. Fog draws and plays an Island for turn before paying 1 for a Strength Testing Hammer. Gavin draws and plays a Plains and once again passes. Ryan plays a Mountain for turn and then pays 3 for a Quietus Spike. Martin plays his second Plains for turn, then goes to combat, swings his commander Gavin while he swings his Survivor Ryan. He then casts a Winged Commando, and on his end step, Fog pays 1 to sack his Skullbomb in order to draw a card. Fog misses his land drop for turn, but still is able to pay 1 and cast a Bronze Goggles. Gavin draws for turn and also misses a land drop before discarding down to hand size. Ryan plays a Rogue's Passage for turn, then pays 3 to cast a Seething Song, which helps him cast his commander Maraxus of Keld. Martin draws and plays a Plains for turn before casting a Valiant Veteran. He then goes to combat, swinging his Survivor at Fog while he swings his other 2 creatures at Ryan, before Martin then pays 2 to cast an Air Marshal. Fog draws and misses another land drop before he then pays 2 to cast an Armory of Erois. Gavin draws and then loses 2 life off his Ancient Tomb to help cast a Phyrexian Altar. Ryan plays a Kirk Keep for turn before then going to combat, swinging his commander Martin for 6 commander damage. He then pays 4 and casts a Visions of Phyrexia before passing. Martin draws for turn, but then goes straight to combat, swinging out with all of his creatures at Ryan, taking him down to 18 life. He casts a Gustcloak Harrier and passes. Fog draws and still can't get another land, so he just pays 2 and casts a Blackblade Reforged. Gavin untaps for turn and then draws before finally hitting a 4th land, which allows him to take 2 damage and cast his commander Kenrith. Ryan exiles the top card of his library on his upkeep before drawing for turn and playing a Mountain. Ryan then pays to cast his own Blackblade Reforged before also paying to equip it to his commander. Afterwards, he also pays to equip his commander with his Quietus Spike. Ryan then goes to combat, and for some unprovoked reason, he swings his commander at Fog, which deals 5 commander damage, before the Quietus Spike then triggers, cutting his life total in half. Martin draws and plays a land for turn before he rightfully goes to combat and swings all out at Ryan, taking him out of the game. Fog draws for turn and then finally hits a 3rd land, which allows him to cast Arden, Intrepid Archaeologist. He then goes to his combat step and equips all of his equipment to Arden, while Gavin then untaps and draws for turn. Gavin plays a tapped Temple Guard for turn before he then pays, losing 2 life, to try to use Kenrith's ability to bring his dragon back from his graveyard. In response, Martin tries to stop him by casting Calamity's Wake, which then gets countered by Gavin, having him lose 1 life and returning his dragon to play. Martin draws and plays another island for turn before he then goes to combat, swinging all out at Gavin in the air. Gavin then blocks his commander with his Ancient Gold Dragon and takes the rest of the damage. Gavin then goes down to 11 life, while Martin recasts his commander a 2nd time before he passes his turn. Fog plays a 4th land for turn and then goes to combat, swinging Arden at Martin. This then triggers his Armory, which puts a 1/1 counter on Arden, and in response, Martin casts a United Strike targeting Arden, which then gets countered by Fog with an Override. Fog then rolls for a Strength Testing Hammer, which then makes Arden the highest powered creature on the field and has Fog drawing a card. Martin then takes his 9 damage and Fog passes. Gavin draws and plays a City of Brass as his land for turn before then going to combat and swinging his dragon in the air at Fog for 7 damage. He then rolls off his dragon's trigger and somehow hits a natural 20, which then gives him 20 1/1 blue fairy dragon tokens. Martin draws for turn and then goes to combat, once again swinging all out in the air with his flying soldiers at Gavin, who just chump blocks with his fairy dragon tokens. Fog plays a Spire of Industry for turn, then goes to combat, swinging Arden at Gavin, which triggers your Armory, putting another counter on his creature, and then he rolls for a Strength Testing Hammer. He then has the highest powered creature on the field and he draws a card. Gavin then chumps with one of his tokens and fog casts his commander, Ayesha Tanaka. On his instep, Gavin uses Kenrith's ability to bring Atraxa Grand Unifier back into play from his graveyard. He then reveals the top 10 cards of his library, which has him putting into his hand one card of every type, while he puts the rest on the bottom of his library in a random order. Gavin then draws to start his turn and plays a Yavimaya Cradle of Growth before going to combat. He then decides to swing Atraxa and his dragon at Martin in the air, while he swings his 12 fairy dragons at Fog in the air, taking him out of the game. Martin then chump blocks Atraxa, and Gavin still deals damage with his dragon, so he rolls, creating 14 more fairy dragon tokens. At this point, Martin knows the game's over, so he just decides to scoop the game up to Gavin. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you can see more games and decks you wouldn't normally see in your average meta.